The news has come out that Vlatko Andonovski, it's not surprising to anyone, has stepped down, will not be continuing on, whatever word you want to use it. Ultimately, he's not going to be the coach anymore. And as I said, you finish historically the worst the U.S. women's national team has ever finished in a World Cup, and this is par for the course. This is what's going to happen. So thank you, Vlatko, for everything that you have done, and we move on. Let me start with you, Stu. First off, I don't think this is surprising to you, but of the candidates out there, and everybody's got their lists going, what do you think U.S. soccer is ultimately going to do in the direction they're going to go?
I think that we're at a point as a federation right now. You know, we've got a new sporting director. So again, we've rehired Greg Berhalter on the men's side, changing the structure now from the women's side. And I think it's important now to take a step back and really evaluate. I want somebody, in short, to come in that I think has a clear vision for how they see U.S. soccer should move forward on the women's side, whether that's tactically, development-wise, youth national teams. So a big picture, big thinker, but I also think you have to have a character that, you know, can take control of the locker room and the team. And I think we've heard so much about, I look at this team, talent-wise, I think, you've still got Alyssa Thompson, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith. You know, you've got a good crop. Yeah, Naomi Girma, one of the best center backs in the world. So I don't worry so much about, like, we don't have players that can compete on a global stage. But I think you need to just readjust the culture of the team, and also somebody that tactically is on a level that I think now what you're seeing in Europe and the way that Wiegman is coaching, Vilda is coaching, even Gerhardsson with Sweden. And I think, that's where Vlatko Andonovski, to me, showed his weak side, where, he didn't manage the roster well, he didn't manage the players well, and then also tactically within games couldn't change. So I want a big picture tactical coach, and also just somebody that walks in on day one and is like, this is my team. It's not the players that are going to be running this team anymore. And I think we've seen that too long in U.S. soccer. But, I mean, look, the team had won back-to-back World Cups, so it's hard to get away from that generation.
What do you want, Mosse?
What I find interesting is when they hired Vlatko in 2019. Now, keep in mind, they were coming off a second straight World Cup title. We're operating from a position of strength. But a lot of people seem to like that they went with an NWSL coach because they view elevating the stature of that league as important in this whole equation of growing the women's game. And now, with the cycle having gone the way it went, people are saying that it was ludicrous to hire a coach without any international experience, and that this next coach has to be a proven winner at the international level. So it's interesting how that pendulum has swung. But that
Do you agree that that has to happen?
Not necessarily, but if you do go that route, it becomes a bit tricky from a timing standpoint. Our men's soccer brains like to think of World Cups as being the line of demarcation from one cycle to the next, but that's not really the case on the women's side. Yeah. You have an Olympics in less than a year, so any proven international coach probably has a job right now, and they might want to stick around through the Olympics and then figure out their next move, because then you have that 3-year gap between the Olympics and the next World Cup, which is why Caitlin Murray wrote a very interesting article on ESPN in which she advocated the U.S. hiring Jill Ellis as an interim coach for the next year to coach the Olympics, and then figure out who to hire after that, when possibly the Wiegmans and Gustafssons would be available.
But why would Jill Ellis want to do that, by the way?
Her argument was that Joe Ellis won those 2 World Cups, but she didn't win the Olympics, so there is something out there that she can accomplish that she didn't
You're
before.
just kicking it down the line, though. I mean, ultimately, I want somebody there that's going to work for this next cycle.
Would you, if you thought you could get a better candidate in a year than you could get now?
I don't think.
You waste a year.
Yeah.
You waste a year, though. I mean, because it takes time now for the U.S. soccer to reinvent themselves. I'm not saying change the identity of U.S. soccer. You're not going to change that. You need the mentality and everything. But as to your point, tactical-wise and the whole structure, what does U.S. soccer want to stand for? And you need time to build it. You don't build it within a year. I don't think so, because there was a lot of time wasted in the previous 2 or 3 years. And so don't waste another year just because it's the Olympics. Start now with a new coach, whatever your identity is going to be like, find the right coach for the character, and then you got 4 years for the next World Cup. And I know Olympics is important, but I don't think that you can be successful in the Olympics in 1 year and still be successful in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
Bingo.
One of the things I'm interested, though, in, Alexi, is we talk about, on the men's side, we have specialist coaches almost that coach international teams, and they're very successful in doing it, and they bounce within federations. Coaching club teams and coaching national teams are very different skills. It's coaching, but it's a different version of coaching. And I'm just wondering, as now the women's game is maturing more, and you're getting more and more games, high-profile games, bigger tournaments, international level, that, do you start to see now a separation between coaches that are specialist club coaches and then coaches that are, You know, maybe, like, I don't know, with Serena Wiegmann, I think she's a wonderful coach. I think she's the best coach in the game right now. But would she be as good at the club level? You know, in today's iteration of, you know, the NWSL and et cetera. So I'm fascinated to see how that kind of plays out now and which coaches kind of emerge as hot candidates as we go through.
Well, think about that for a second, all three of you, because I'm going to ask you all for some names that, you know, they could be the names that everybody's throwing around, or it could be some, you know, some dark horse type of candidates. Because you mentioned Matt Crocker, all right? He has come in as the sporting director for U.S. Soccer. I think that Matt Crocker has done exactly what you need to do in terms of cleaning house. And when I say that, Kate Margraf is no longer with the Federation. She's going to be exiting as the GM of the women's. Brian McBride is no longer the GM of the men's. Now, Oguchi Onyewu is the vice president of sporting, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. That's a newly created position. The U.S. Soccer Federation loves to create positions. No idea what they ultimately do. But I do believe that Matt Crocker did the right thing in kind of cleaning house, and who he brings in. I'm not as concerned as you with big picture type of stuff. I want someone that is for lack of a better term, a bigger than life type of candidate. I want somebody who can control that locker room, but also when they go out in front of a camera and when they go out in front of the public, that they get me excited. That I want to, if I'm not playing for them, but I would want to play for this person.
But let me ask you though, Lex, because what we've seen with Spain, they've won the U17s, U20s, and now they're going to potentially win a Women's World Cup. I look at our 20s, and I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I saw them recently. I think our best finish in the last decade was 3rd place or something like that. You know, we failed to get out of the group. You know, you're not concerned that the lack of success at the youth age for the United States of America, which has for long been the gold standard of women's soccer, I think that's a disturbing trend to me, and we can't just continue to bypass that and brush it under the rug when our women's team is winning at the top level. And then when we don't, it's like, oh crap, there's the wake-up call.
So why don't African teams dominate at the World Cup level?
What?
So it doesn't always translate, is what I'm saying. It doesn't. The youth part of it, yes, it's a wonderful thing to have, and yes, you can hedge your bets by doing that. And it's something that absolutely the United States Soccer Federation has to take a real good look at as to what has gone wrong over the last, let's just say, the last decade going forward. But it doesn't preclude you from winning a World Cup,
No,
and it sure as hell doesn't mean that you finish 16th. In the round of 16 in a historically bad way.
I 100% agree on that. I just think that, you know, when we think about trying to have a wider player pool, and I think that's one of the things we saw with the women's team this year, the United States, was that we weren't as deep as we had been in previous tournaments. And I think that you're missing maybe that bottom end of not having as many high level. I actually think, I'm interested in what Ari thinks too. I think you're going to start to see a lot of women's players, young American girls, go to Europe and start playing in some of the bigger leagues and maybe getting not only more money, more opportunity, higher exposure, higher game. Now, that's going to benefit our national team, but not necessarily NWSL.
But it's not that I don't care about NWSL, but let's put that aside right now. If it's just about winning a World Cup, okay, so that might be a good thing.
So if ultimately Serena.
Well, no, okay. So the Serena thing is interesting because she's, you know, England's already saying, oh, not so fast to go on. They're putting her up for the men's team and all this kind of stuff. If you throw enough money at Serena, you're going to have to throw enough money at her. I do think that this job is plum now, and it's become plum because this team failed in this World Cup. And now you get to be the savior. Now you get to come in and bring us back to the promised land. And Vlatko Andonovski, when he came in, I think if Vlatko was here, he would have said, you know what I should have done as soon as I came in before the Olympics, to your point, cleaned house, started it again. And I think the next person that comes in can learn about what Vlatko didn't do and say, I'm going to clean house. I'm going to use the Olympics just as a testing, proving ground. Whatever happens, happens. Nobody have high expectations because it's all about 2027, I guess it would be.
But I think it's always easier to clean something when things went wrong. Because you have a fresh start. Of course, when you keep winning, it's hard to change something. But definitely, Vlatko missed out on that one. I mean, he might regret that he ever took this job. But however, whoever comes in next, I agree. It's the easiest part. I mean, it's always going to be difficult being the head coach of the U.S. women's national team. But it's going to be the easiest part. You got nothing more to lose. You're already on the bottom of it. And from now on, you can only grow.
So give us some names, Ari. Give us some names that you would throw out there. And also, give us something that maybe we've never even heard. Somebody that you think of and have that maybe doesn't have the resume and doesn't have the attention, but hey, they're listening out there. This is the State of the Union, all right? The people are out there listening.
Okay, Ari Hingst.
Hey, there it is.
I'm just joking. Of course, we got to talk Serena Wiegmann, but I get another point. It's a coaching team, right? Of course, you need the head coach, but it's ultimately just going to be the face of it. You must surround yourself with a good group of people. Serena has this group of people. She brought the Dutch into the England squad as well. So that's what you need. Surround yourself with the best possibly experts. So whoever's going to be the head coach, it's just going to be the face of the whole program that's going to be built around.